Up next, Jeff Cool is going to introduce today's speaker. Come on up, Jeff.
Thank you, President Rachel. So it's my pleasure to introduce my boss, Andrea Reeder, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Philanthropy Officer for Asante Foundation right here in Medford, Oregon. The mission of Asante Foundation is to generate private support and encourage community involvement to enhance the nationally recognized medical care delivered by the three-hospital healthcare system, Asante. Andrea started with Asante in 2014 as a development director. In 2018, she was named campaign director, leading the planning and execution of Asante Forward, a capital campaign to support Asante's expansion efforts, the largest philanthropic effort in the history of the region. In addition to her contributions on the Asante executive team, Andrea oversees the entire philanthropic program for the health system, including all capital campaigns and initiative fundraising, and two hospitality houses serving the 9 county region in Southern Oregon and Northern California. Previous to her career in healthcare philanthropy, Andrea developed fundraising programs and capital campaigns for private schools across the country and spent 12 years as a restaurateur. In her free time, Andrea enjoys gardening, cooking, and spending time with family. When her grandchildren were in the NICU, they were next door to my babies in the NICU, so we got to visit each other every now and again. Uh, and spending time with family. She resides in Central Point with her husband Tim. So without further ado, Andrea.
Thank you so much. Just a pleasure to be with you. I look across out at all of you, and I have the pleasure of knowing many of you. Thanks for having me. Are you going to be driving for me? So do I nod? Do I click? All right. Thank you so much. All right. So I really want to talk about generosity. I really want to talk about what our community is capable of doing, what they have done, and what is next for us to think about doing. When I think about presenting to all of you, I am preaching to the choir. Your vision, I reminded myself and looked up your vision last night. You unite to do amazing things globally, in our country and locally. And so you have inspired many and do many great things. So for us here locally, if you'll go to the next slide, generosity has been part of Asante from the beginning. Many of you have heard the story in the 1950s when the leaders in this community decided that we needed to build a hospital. They made it happen. The story goes they recruited 100 volunteers, they fed them breakfast at the Elks Lodge, they gave them the addresses for the day, and they went door to door and raised the funds to build the original hospital. Now, the foundation doesn't necessarily go about it that way today. We don't knock on doors, but we talk to a lot of people. This poster is hanging in my office. This is a poster and an ad that those leaders took out in the paper in the 50s. And it says, the problem is yours. So I have this staring at my desk every day. The problem is mine, but it's really all of ours. And it's not necessarily a problem. It's a dedication to advancing healthcare for all of us. Philanthropy and generosity has been part of every advancement at Asante ever since the original hospital. If you think about every advancement, every new project, every new program, the NICU, the tower, the Cheney place, this community made those things happen. And this community will remain an important partner to ensure that we all have the healthcare that we need. Asante Forward, as Jeff mentioned, was the most ambitious campaign that our community had ever seen at that time. We set out to expand aspects across the health system, and the goal was $50 million. We gave ourselves 10 years to raise $50 million. So if you'll go to the next slide, we set out to do a great deal of work. We kicked off the campaign in 2019, and since then, we opened a new behavioral health unit. This is the only inpatient unit for mental health patients between Eugene and the Bay Area. So we opened that up in 2020. We opened up an expansion of the emergency department in Josephine County the same year. But the following year, we added a helistop. Before having a designated place for a helicopter to land behind the hospital, behind the emergency department, it landed in the intersection right in front of the hospital. I got to view that a couple times, very scary. It has an appropriate place now. It's called a helistop rather than a helipad because it doesn't have fuel at that location. We opened up 2 cancer centers, or expanded one. We opened up the Hyman Cancer Center and we expanded the Spears Cancer Center. These are state-of-the-art cancer centers that support patients from diagnosis through all of their treatment, also all of the support services, all of the oncological, massage, nutrition specialists, support groups, everything they need outside surgery is at either of these locations. And then in 2024, we opened up the new pavilion at Asante Rogue that houses the Olsrud Family Women's and Children's Hospital, cardiac care, critical care, and a new surgical platform. This community made all of that happen while going through a global pandemic and our local wildfires. It's really a testament to the vision, understanding, and dedication this community has to taking care of us, our neighbors, our loved ones, our colleagues. So we gave ourselves 10 years to raise the money to fund these projects. This community did it in half the time. We set out to raise 50 million in the 5th year. We realized that we were going to surpass the goal. It's a real testament to this community. So at that point, and I do want to just pause for a minute and point out the value of philanthropy. When we set out to raise $50 million, if you think about Asante as a not-for-profit hospital working on a very small margin, the margin goal is 3%. If Asante would have to generate an extra $50 million to invest in these projects and programs, they would have to do $1.7 billion of business on top of what they already do. So it really emphasizes how valuable contributions are to these projects. So what's next? Well, when we were in our 5th year, we realized we were going to surpass the goal. We went back to the donors, we went back to the board, we went back to the community and asked them, what do you think we should do? Should we pause? Should we celebrate? And we had an overwhelming response that we simply needed to keep going because healthcare is simply too important. And so we have expanded the campaign from Asante Forward to Asante Forward 2030 with 3 priorities, the most important things that we believe the community needs right now. And that's cardiac expansion, the family house expansion, and medical oncology. And of course, we're going to continue working with donors in all of the areas that they have a personal interest and passion in. So the cardiac expansion on the next slide. So now that we've moved into the pavilion, we are going to convert the old ICU spaces to become prep and recovery for cardiovascular care. We're going to convert the old operating rooms to become 6 new cath labs. We're also going to continue to support cardiac rehab. We know how important that is to move from surviving to thriving. With this change, we are going to have all cardiac services on the 3rd floor for efficiency and co-location of that. They have a direct elevator that takes them right down to the cath lab. So all of that is very connected construction-wise. This expansion, we broke ground just a couple of weeks ago, right, Jeff? And this construction is underway. So if you'll go to the next slide. The family house. So how many of you have heard of Ronald McDonald houses? So we have two hospitality houses, very similar to Ronald McDonald houses, but we manage them ourselves. And we don't have the regulations or requirements that Ronald McDonald houses have. We have one in Medford, the Cheney Place. We have one in Grants Pass, the Family House. And since expanding the Helen K. Spears Cancer Center in Grants Pass, we are turning people away nearly daily from this staying at this house. And we have patients and their families coming from all over our region, primarily the coast. So if you think about cancer treatment, think about your own experience, those folks that you know. My dad had chemotherapy for bladder cancer. He had treatment 3 days a week for 6 weeks. So if you think about the travel and the time that these families are going back and forth, to have a house that offers more than just a room to stay, but it's close to the hospital, it's supportive, it has community spaces, it's affordable. We only charge $50 a night. And if you can't afford that, we still aren't going to turn you away. If we have room, we want you to stay there. So right now we have 7 rooms. We want to double the capacity. We want to add 7 more rooms. We have 5 RV spaces. We want to add 3 more. This is a little different kind of project for the foundation to take on. Typically, we will partner with Asante. We will bring the community support to join Asante's reinvestment of that 3% margin. For the hospitality house, this is going to be 100% philanthropy. So we are working hard to raise the money to fund the entire project of this expansion. And now medical oncology. I talked a little bit about our 2 cancer centers. So we have patients and their families going to these amazing cancer centers. They are getting tremendous care. And when they need to come inside the hospital at Rogue, they are going to a space that is in that original hospital from that poster. They're still getting the amazing care. They're still getting quality high-level care, but it is in the oldest space. It is antiquated. It is not designed for this kind of specialty. And so we want to identify a space that now has been vacated and build out a true medical oncology unit so that the patients, their families are supported in the environment and the staff has the right environment to deliver this kind of care. The generosity goes beyond campaigns. So this is just a small list of many of the things that donors have supported over the past year. They support the mammogram fund for folks who cannot afford that. The linear accelerator that was recently added to the Spears Cancer Center in Grants Pass was nearly 100% funded through philanthropy. Oncology nurse certification, mannequins for our sim lab, which is where we train and practice with computerized mannequins to simulate special situations for our staff to practice. Medical mission trips, spiritual care, poke prizes for kids, just to encourage them when they are going through really hard things, and then a pet therapy program. So generosity and community support impacts many, many areas of healthcare. So now for the last slide. It is really personal. Healthcare affects all of us. It's important for our community. We have to have high-level healthcare for thriving communities. It's good for our economy, but it's good for each other. These are folks that have told their story, have been grateful for the care they received. And as Jeff mentioned, his twins were next door to my grandbaby twins. So it does get real personal. I have had the pleasure and privilege in my role to tell a lot of stories about other people. For the first time, I have my own story. My daughter and her husband live in Klamath Falls. He's an ER doc at Sky Lake. She's the admissions director at Oregon Tech, expecting twins. And a couple months before they were supposed to come, things got a little scary and she was medevaced from Klamath Falls to Asante Rogue here in Medford. And the babies were, we had an urgent C-section. The babies came at 32 weeks. They were just under 5 pounds, and they spent nearly 5 weeks in the NICU next door to Jeff's twins. So that's Vigo and Stiora. That's a picture of each of them while they were in the NICU. Very, very tiny, very scary, but never have I had more confidence in the staff that was taking care of them. And then that is them today. And they are crawling and they're getting around. Everybody's happy and healthy. But I have always known, as Jeff did my introduction, I have to have a dedication and personal interest in whatever projects, programs, and organizations I'm representing. And I am very proud that I have had an impact in education. We all know how important that is. And I am ecstatic to be part of engaging our community in ensuring we have the healthcare that we need. And I'm glad that it was here for my family, as I am glad that it will be here for your family if and when you need it. I explained to my kids that had those babies come 2 months earlier, before we had opened up the new pavilion, they would not have had a private NICU room, which is a new model. And we are one of the few in the state to have it. They would have been sharing that space with all the other babies. Jeff's twins would have been with our twins, with all the other twins and all the other babies in one room. But now they have these beautiful private rooms looking out over a valley. This is a real gift. I want to say thank you. You and your organization do great things. I know many of you support Asante, but I know many of you support all the good organizations that reside in our community, and everything that we do to uplift our community is important. And I thank you for doing the things that you do.
Do we have questions for Andrea? No questions. Okay. All right. Well, Andrea,
Wait a minute, Ron.
Kelly? Nope. Okay, Ron has a question. Yes.
Say, when Cheney House was developed, our club was pretty involved. My late wife was co-chairman of the committee. Doug Snyder designed the building, and Sam James built the building. So we're heavily involved in Cheney Place.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Doug.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Doug asked this question earlier about recruiting. How's our recruiting going? This is a huge focus for Asante. As many of you know, we have a shortage of physicians. That is not just locally. That is nationwide. We cannot produce physicians fast enough to fill the vacancies. Asante has 90 positions posted for physicians right now, 90. We have taken a different approach to recruiting. We're seeing success. One of the biggest shortage areas is just general practitioners. We have 7 committed new general practitioners coming to our valley this summer. We have 2 more letters of intent out, so possibly 9 this summer. We're in final conversations with a cardiologist. We're in final conversations with a GI specialist, which is another area we really need to focus on. We have a shortage. We are focused. We're working really hard to recruit. We know how great it is to live here, and we need to help them see that too.
Any other questions? Oh, well, thank you, Andrea. And Andrea, as a thank you gift for being today's speaker, our club supports the Smart Reading Program. So today we're going to donate a book in your name. It's Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls 2. So it's got lots of famous authors in here, but if you wouldn't mind signing the inside cover, then we'll get this in the hands of a smart reader. So let's give her one more round of applause. Thank you so much for coming.